As a 20-year-old male, I consider myself good at roughly 3 things, and they are playing Connect 4, watching superhero movies, and reading comic books. 2 of these 3 things are going to be relevant to my speech today, which is to persuade you guys to go see a movie that came out 2 weeks ago and is already on the Internet Movie Database's list of the top 250 movies of all time. And also, Roger Ebert called it morally reprehensible. That movie is a Tarantino-esque superhero comedy that is kick-ass. In this speech, I hope to outline why this film is worth seeing and also why it's been so controversial. So, alright, this movie has some people angry and some people love it. But what is it about? The movie is about a New York high school student named Dave Lazuski who, after being mugged and in clear view of bystanders who could have helped him out, decides to become a superhero, ordering a wetsuit off the internet and ignoring his friends' pleas that if he does this, he will be dead in roughly a day. 1 day later, he is stabbed and hit by a car after attempting to intervene in a carjacking. However, with the aid of metal plates in his body post-surgery and nerve damage that gives him an increased tolerance for pain, he decides to continue becoming a superhero, and after intervening in a mugging again, this time several people capture it on video and post it on YouTube, and he becomes an overnight sensation and inspires other people to become superheroes. When 2 better trained vigilantes by the name of Hit Girl and Big Daddy begin to take on the mob successfully, it is Dave, who has adopted the name Kick-Ass, who becomes a target. The cast of this film is pretty good, a mix of unknowns and bigger names. Kick-Ass / Dave is played by a British actor named Aaron Johnson, who concurrently filmed the role while playing John Lennon in the upcoming movie Nowhere Boy, which has already earned him several Best Actor nominations in his home country of England. So he's a very good actor and pulls off being both British in real life and American on screen. In one of the few good things he had to say about the film, Roger Ebert said that Johnson carries the film with a certain anti-charm, which sounds like a backhanded compliment if I've ever heard it. Nicolas Cage, of all people, has put in a great performance as Damon McCready, a disgraced cop who decides to take on the mafia as a vigilante in the Batman mold called Big Daddy. He's also trained his 11-year-old daughter to become an assassin called Hit Girl. In an interview with Newsarama.com, Cage compared his approach to the role as a mix of Elvis, William Shatner, and 60s Batman and Family Guy star Adam West. Which means, for most of the film, Cage speaks like this whenever he's in costume. Some controversial scenes that Cage is involved in include shooting his 11-year-old daughter repeatedly in the chest with a gun while she's wearing a bulletproof vest. And it's hilarious, because after all, she says that she'll only do it if they're allowed to go to the bowling alley later and get ice cream. Chloe Moretz plays his daughter, Mindy McCready, aka Hit Girl, who was described by the Los Angeles Times as a pint-sized profanity-spewing killing machine in a purple wig and a pleated skirt whose foul mouth nearly distracts from the amount of killing that she does, which is mind-boggling. It's an 11-year-old girl who would rather have a set of butterfly knives for her birthday than a puppy. And lastly, I'll talk about the production of the film. It was produced by director Matthew Vaughn and Brad Pitt after the script, which was based off of a Marvel comic book, was rejected by every single Hollywood movie studio. The entire production was funded by one dinner party. It was made for $28 million, which is roughly $230 million less than the budget of Spider-Man 3, which was awful. At the box office, Kick-Ass made $19.8 million in its first weekend, putting it $200,000 ahead of How to Train Your Dragon, according to BoxOfficeProfits.com. In its second weekend, it dropped to number 5 with a $9.5 million weekend, which is one reason why I'm encouraging you all to see this movie, because it is plummeting quickly. But the reception from both critics and me personally is why I really think that this film needs to be seen to be believed. The New York Times called it the latest in giggles and guts entertainment. Fast, spit funny, and grotesquely violent. It embraces and satirizes action cliches with Tarantino-esque regard. What we're looking at is essentially a mix of Spider-Man meets Kill Bill. And it's funny. It's killing people, but it's funny. I can't even explain how awkward that is to say. The Los Angeles Times, however, explained how awkward it is to say this, calling the movie the movie our parents warned us about, and the movie that you shouldn't take your children to see. It says a slick mixture of comic book mayhem, unmistakable sweetness, and ear-splitting profanity. Even the Diamondback, the world's most credible newspaper, gave it 4 stars out of 5, calling it the most fun you can possibly have in a movie theater. Which is kind of strange because the most fun you could possibly have in a movie theater would likely get 5 stars, don't you think? It's like, this movie is so great, but if you really want to enjoy something, go read a book or something. Meanwhile, The Guardian in the UK called it a hilarious, very violent comedy that puts a new twist on superhero heroics. But not everybody is having fun with it. As aforementioned Robert Ebert goes, he says, "It treats people as if they're video game targets. You kill one, you score, they're dead, and you win." And the Daily Mail in England called it the most irresponsible and darkly cynical film of all time. It glorifies violence, particularly knife and gun violence, and is evil. In conclusion, the movie Kick-Ass is one of the strangest films to ever get released by an independent movie studio. It's an action movie made on a low budget that combines comedy and gross out violence. And it's heartwarming. It's just a very strange film. I've forgotten my conclusion. Thank you.